Today we're being joined by Sophie Thredgold from the South Australian Football Club, or state, and played for Sturt as well. Sophie, thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Now, Sophie, how many times, and like I just did then, how many times do people butcher your last name?
It happens a fair bit actually. Like you'd think it'd be pretty straightforward, but you get the odd few.
Yeah, you do. How do you pronounce it for the people that have the problem of pronouncing your last name?
Thredgold.
Thredgold. There you go. So I should have got it right the first time. But anyway,
Yeah.
anyway. So tell us a bit about your footy journey. What kind of got you into footy, and what type of player you are?
So my family sort of has always just been really into footy. My uncle played a fair few league games for Sturt, being captain for a while, Chris.
Mhm.
And then sort of I just followed through with that, like started with Odds Kick and then
Mhm.
joined up my local club. Just started playing there for a while and then got invited out to the Sturt like juniors programs and then
Mhm.
sort of just went through from there.
That's good. Obviously playing for South Australia too in the state championships. How was that state championships for you, being a bottom major at that time when that happened?
Yeah, it was definitely a really good experience. Like when I got invited out to the trials, I really wasn't just not expecting to even get it at all. And then to get into that squad of 30, let alone like even playing all of the games was just so good. Like definitely something I didn't expect. But yeah, it was really good.
Because originally you were in the state team for the under 16s one, I correct, 2023.
Yeah.
So in that very first moment, you were told the very first time it came about for you, how did you react to it, and how do you feel that you went from then on in your footy journey?
Definitely last year, I feel like I sort of was still finding my flow, like being new to sort of the defensive line. I've always been
Mm-hmm.
like obviously a midfielder sort of forward in my local club. And when I got to Sturt, they sort of said, oh, we see you as a defender. And
Mm-hmm.
sort of then I was just getting used to that new role that I was playing. So I think last year I
Yeah.
didn't really have the opportunity to play like I did this year. I think like I
Mm-hmm.
really sort of have been able to find my feet like and get into it.
So that's good. So you mentioned obviously you in local you're playing up mid and forward. Was it hard to make that transition to move to one position early, as you said, trying to transition into a role? What kind of helped you spark that jump from that first year trialing a new position to kind of now?
Definitely like my line coaches were like a huge part, but also like my teammates, obviously like playing league in the SANFLW, you're playing with lots of older girls,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just so good to learn off. Like I had a few of the girls sort of like take me in and like teach me a few of the things that I didn't sort of already know about the defensive line, which has made the transition definitely a lot easier for me.
That's good. So how do you feel yourself and the girls when this under 18 state championships, this tournament obviously had some decent wins in there as well? How do you feel you went overall?
I think I did all right. I think I've always been sort of a player that just like tries to play their role and like do their part in the team. So I think I was able to do that, but definitely could, perform better in the future.
Okay, so obviously in the three games you played, in the first one you had 11 disposals with 5 intercept possessions as a key, and then 4 tackles and 4 intercept possessions in the Vic Metro game. In the WA game, which I feel personally was your best game, I don't know what you feel, but obviously with 11 disposals, 3 tackles, and that 72% disposal efficiency. Did you feel like the longer the championships went, the better you got?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
That's good. If you had to pick a particular game, was there a particular game in those 3, or if it was all 3, that you went in going nervous, or particular matchups you may have had to line up on a particular player?
Definitely in the Vic Metro game, we were sort of playing with like 3 tools on the other Victoria 3 tools to make that match a bit more even. But my role was sort of to be that chop in player. Like obviously being a medium defender, it was a little bit like I was when another tool went off in the rotations, I was sort of that player that like covered off one of the tools, which is definitely a difficult position to play. Being like a medium sized defender. So
Very
that
good.
day, yeah.
That's good. So would you say overall some of your biggest strengths as a footballer would be like your intercept marking and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I'd also say like sort of my speed, I think, has really been something that's shone through recently as well, like off the halfback.
No, that's good. So, in the state champions overall for the most recent one, who is some players that stood out for you in your team that you feel like they really shown why they got selected and why they'll be a top draft prospect either this year or next?
I think obviously like one of my good friends from Sturt, India Rashid, has like always been one of the top disposal getters, like quite efficient, and also Eloise Makareth. She's been quite efficient recently as well, definitely. And another one, Grace Martin. I think she's really showed her strengths this year, definitely through the championships as well.
That's right. Does it give a lot of confidence for the future of SA footy when you got yourself, you got Eloise, you got Michaela, and a fair few others as well that played as bottom agers this year, and it gives you confidence going into next season, all going to plan that you'd all be in the same team again, and you've had that years of or games of experience together. If you hadn't known them already.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also like coming through the program with them as well, like sort of it just like solidifies that strength that we have coming through and playing together, like the more and more sort of that group, like we just all get better together and like can grow.
That's right. If you had to pick one player from that SA state side that you feel was the best player of the tournament, who would you say that is? Because there's been a few names, and there's a fair few options, which is why I asked you this, because it's really hard to choose. Who would you have?
That's a really tough decision. I think everyone was like able to play their role sort of through the championships. I think like some of the midfielders, like Grace, obviously rotating through the defensive line. Also, obviously Esther being named the MVP. She was very pretty vital to our back line as well.
That's right. Yeah, there was so many options, and I mean, and Eloise as well. For someone in the bottom age like yourself to kick that amount of goals and 4 goals in the last game, is pretty impressive. And that's another reason why I mentioned about having that experience now for yourself and everyone in their bottom age year now going into next season. And just overall though, SA women's footy is really strong at the moment in terms of the draft and everything like that. So last year, Port Adelaide stole everyone from the top, and then this year there's going to be some more as well, and the year after that, and after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Who would you say are some of your favourite teammates at either of the clubs you've been a part of?
Sort of growing up, I've played like a lot of games with India Rashid. Like we played at the same local club together, and her like being a year older than me, sort of we both graduated through the Sturt pathway, which was really good. And then coming through the state pathway, I've made quite good friends with a few of the girls like Eloise, Lily Baxter, and also some of the top ages like Kobe and Lucy Boyd.
Very nice. Who would you say now this can relate to Sturt, this can relate to the SA side. Who loves the limelight, the attention, the camera at either club, and they can't get enough of it, and they know what to do when a camera's around? Sorry for the technical difficulties there, everyone. So far, who would you say loves that attention at either club?
Probably I'd have to say Barbara Harris with her retirement this year definitely dragged that out a little bit. Like she loves a little bit of the limelight and the spotlight.
Very nice. I mean, yeah, it's like you're retiring, but you're like just keep building it out longer and longer, and make it about yourself in a good or a bad way. Now, who would you say is the best chatterbox at either club or team?
Chloe Tonkin probably in the state team this year was quite a chatterbox.
That's very good. I mean, go on. Sorry, go on.
Sturt, I'd probably have to say like Bella Drew or Naz.
Good. As I always say, I mean, being a chatterbox doesn't necessarily means a bad thing either. But who would you say is the loudest and quietest teammates?
Loudest, I would probably have to say Chloe. And quietest, maybe Monique Besson.
Very nice. All right, now I always like asking this one of the most. Who, if you're stuck on a deserted island with teammates, Soph, who are you bringing and not bringing, and why?
Oh, that's a really tough question. If I was stuck on a deserted island, I would probably not bring Kobe because I think she would be quite forgetful. And it'd just be a little bit difficult, especially with like a deserted island. I think
Mhm.
on the deserted island, I would have to bring probably Eloise or maybe Poppy Schultz. I just think,
Mhm.
I don't know, they're a little bit of fun and, you know, being on a deserted island, it'd be good.
Mm, that's good. So obviously this year, obviously playing at Stir, then mixing through the state championships this year and last year. Have you been able to balance it in the last few seasons to kind of a mix of that training, Sturt games, state games and trainings and match sims and everything like that? Have you been able to juggle all that?
It's definitely been a lot, like, obviously modifying trainings, I think, and having to miss out on trainings, like,
Mm,
week on, week off, going to a Sturt training, going to a state training. But, obviously the coaches understand, like, that sort of that pathway that you go through to get to that, state championship level, so they kind of help out a little bit and just make it a little bit easier.
that's good. Now, what's some key advice you've been given from anyone at any point in time, whether it's a coach or whoever, that's kind of stuck with you in your footy journey or just life in general?
Obviously you hear it from a lot of coaches, but just like sticking to your strengths and being able to like show sort of the things you're best at, because that's sort of what people really look
Mm,
for and makes you sort of stand out from others.
that's good. Was there some goals you had set for yourself throughout the state championships? And if so, what could you lead on to next season? And what are some goals you try and target?
Yeah, definitely this season, even just to get into the squad of 30 was sort of my goal. And then obviously to
Mm,
play like at least one or two, hopefully, of the games, sorry.
mhm,
And then sort of leading into next season, probably of like playing the games again, just being able to really show my strengths and yeah, sort of like build on what I built on this year from the games.
mm. That's good. Would there have been the toughest opponent you've ever had to match up on at any level? This can be in Sanford W, or this can just be in the state games. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Um, no one particularly, but just like obviously the taller players, I think is really difficult for me being like
Yeah.
not sort of that tall. Yeah,
Mhm.
it just makes it all that more difficult to defend.
That's good. Is you mentioned earlier about playing mid and forward in local level, and then transitioning to the back line in the higher levels. So obviously during that time, then in local at least, you would have had some goals you would have kicked, and there's goal celebrations you always see everyone do these days. So what is your go-to goal celebration? Have you got any, or did you previously have any?
No, I didn't really used to hit a little celly in the local league, sort of, and I don't really get the opportunity to kick that many goals at this level, unfortunately. So no, I don't
Mm,
have one.
fair enough. If there was to be a time where you would sneak down at either level and kick a goal, would there be something that would just happen in that moment, or would you try and plan something?
Yeah, I think it'd just be something to happen in the moment. Like I don't
Mm,
really sort of plan for that. Yeah.
fair enough. Mark or goal of the year, which one would you rather do and why? It doesn't matter on the position you play, but which one would you rather do?
Oh, I'd probably have to say goal of the year. Um, yeah.
That's good. I mean, would you be one to, if you were to pull off a Mark or goal of the year, Soph, would you be one to post it?
Yeah, look, I'd be tempted to, definitely. Not sure if
Mm,
I'd probably post it myself, but if my friends sort of got around it, I'd be tempted to maybe repost one of their posts. Yeah.
gotcha. Very nice. Now, these are some more teammate questions I like asking. Who would be the one to Google themselves and check out their own highlights or just read about themselves online?
Probably Bubba Harris, I reckon, would be most likely
Again,
to search herself up, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure if you've been playing for a while, there'd be more and more articles
Mm,
on there. Who are
definitely.
some teammates though you've been impressed by? They kind of fly under the radar a little bit and don't get talked about as much as you feel they should.
Um, Definitely, there's a couple from sort of Sturt that stand out. I think like
Yep.
one of my close friends, Summer Ross from Sturt, being like sort of my age, like a bottom ager coming through the Sturt
Hmm.
pathway. She's definitely found her feet as well this year, and also like Winnie Thornquist. They've both been
Hmm.
pretty vital, like in our backlines and Summer on the wing this year. Just being able to be a part of the program and playing some league games this year have been really good.
No, that's nice. And footy accomplishments for yourself. So, have you ever had any personal accolades, whether that's through premierships or just individual awards you had throughout your time? Obviously, I'm sure being in the state sides is clearly some of that. Has there been any premierships or anything like that also in your footy journey?
Yeah. In my initial, like my first couple of years of starting to play girls footy at my junior club, we won one premiership and also played in another grand final, and
Hmm.
also being co best and fairest with Indy Rashid.
Oh, nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a nice name to have someone being a joint winner with.
Definitely.
And you now I was doing some research earlier, and do you remember and recall your very first jumper number?
Yeah, I've always been from day dot, number 17 has always been my jumper
Yeah.
number, and sort of something that I've stuck with all the way through. Yeah.
Hmm. Very nice. Is there like the reason I ask about jumper numbers is because some people have a meaning towards them, and like, and they just maybe it's like say a family member's number or something like that, or it's they this person's wore it, so then I want to wear it, and it keeps going on that. Is there a reason why you've kept the same number the whole way through?
I think it was just because, like, from day dot, like, I just got given the number 17. I think it's just been something that has stuck with me all the way through. Like, I liked the number, and just ever since I'm like gravitate towards it. I don't really have
Hmm.
a reason why.
That's fair enough. So did it feel different, I would say, than in the state game wearing a different number?
Yeah, definitely. When sort of I saw that number 12, I was like, oh, so
Hmm.
close, but so far. But no, it's
Mm.
just good to represent.
That's right. No matter the number, it's still good. What AFL and AFLW teams do you support?
I support both the Crows for AFL and AFLW.
Very nice. I've seen a combination so for players having mixture of sides, and to be honest, I can't fathom how or why, but a lot of people do for some reason. It's good to see someone stick with the same team at both leagues as well.
Mm.
How do you feel the Crows have gone this season, and for the women's coming up? Well, after round one.
I think obviously it was a little bit disappointing not to make finals, but I think obviously, like, in the future years, having quite a fair few young players, I think like we can sort of build on that in the future, and just get better.
It's good. Now, obviously, the girls had a close win against the Power on the weekend. Obviously, they're a side that only just missed out on the grand final last year. Do you expect and hope that they go all the way again this year towards the back into the finals?
Yeah, absolutely. I really think it'd be something good to see the Crows girls. Like, I know a few of them. Yeah,
Hmm.
just be good to see them go all the way this year, definitely.
That's right. Is there any particular plays that you kind of model your game off at that play at either of those levels, that you type of style of play that you play like?
Um, yeah, well, I sort of watch a few of the games, like definitely Ebony Marinoff being, like hard at the ball, just all the time. Sort of, I really aspire to be sort of
Hmm.
like her work rate, just her, work ethic, everything. She's just like such a
Yeah.
star, I think.
So now you mentioned there about knowing a few, so this may come into this answer, but has there been ever any AFL or AFLW player interactions you've had as a fan, or whether that's through any of the state programs or anything like that, or through Sturt, that you've had as an interaction that either memorable or forgettable?
Um, Not that I can really think of, no.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So, hmm. Name three famous people, dead or alive, you would want to go out to dinner with.
Oh, definitely. I'd have to say probably Bruno Mars, because I've always just really wanted to meet him.
Hmm.
Um, Jacob Elordi, because yeah, and um, probably like Zendaya. I think she'd just be such a good person.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, the second answer you mentioned, that his name gets mentioned so many times. I lose count of how many times his name gets mentioned. What are some of your most prized possessions that you own?
Oh, prized possessions. Recently, probably my baggy blue from my Sturt debut earlier this year. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that was great. And then probably my bed, honestly. Spend a fair
Mhm.
bit of time in there.
that's that's fair enough, and a lot of people would for their own as well. Now, the reason you mentioned the debut game, how are you with nerves going into games, Soph? Are you pretty cool, calm and collected? Does it depend on what game it is, what occasion, what team you're representing? How are you with nerves?
Definitely before games, like the day before, sort of if I'm thinking about it too much, I get a little bit nervous and the butterflies in the stomach, but I
Hmm.
just sort of try find ways to distract myself from it. And like it really depends sort of when the game is, like later in the day, sort
Mm,
of I tend to think about it a bit more and like the feelings sort of build up. But
yeah,
otherwise, like I think I'm usually okay.
that's good. Game day superstitions. Do you have any game day superstitions you must do?
Yeah, I have to wear my game day undies every single week and also
Hmm.
have a coffee before the game.
Okay, that's fair enough. I hear that those two answers in particular a lot. And with the coffee one, so what what would happen to you then if the machine wasn't working? So the reason I say this because a lot of people that say this and they got these certain superstitions. Some people have so many, it's ridiculous. How many they have. Some have heard people say they have like over 10 or around that number, and it's just insane to think. Because what if one of those things, and in your case, the coffee thing, cannot happen? Is your game screwed up because you can't get that, or have you always had the chance to get that when you've had it as a superstition?
Yeah, I've always like we have a coffee machine here at home, but otherwise, I think if the coffee machine wasn't working, either I'd sort of probably go grab one on the way, or it isn't the end of the world for me. I think like it hasn't really been built into my routine enough yet to be sort of something
Okay.
that is a do or die. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I don't want to get to that point. Any favorite music that you have?
Yeah, a fan favorite at the club is definitely 4 or 5 seconds. So I think I've been accustomed to listen to that every single game now.
Okay, interesting. If you could poach one player, well, okay, yeah. If you could poach one player from another state to represent South Australia, or steal another player from another Sample W club to join Sturt, who would that player be and why?
I'd probably have to say Eloise Macareth because, you can always do with another star forward in your
Mhm,
team. Definitely. I think she'd be really good at the double blues.
that's right. I mean, anyone that kick goals is pretty handy.
Mm.
Now, defenders, I feel like they deserve a bit more love than what they get, in particular at the AFL and AFLW level. Do you feel like the defenders deserve their own award as well? Because the mids obviously got the Brownlow and the rucks get recognised in Brownlow votes. And obviously the forwards got the Coleman.
Definitely. I think we should get so much more recognition because obviously defense is like a hard position to play, and we sort
Mm,
of don't get that joy of kicking goals, like that celebration that the forwards get. And
mhm.
so I think, yeah, we definitely need something to recognize our hard work as well.
That's right. What would you say is the best individual game you've ever played at any level, at any time?
I think there was one game for Stir. I can't exactly remember what round it was, but there were
Yeah.
just times where, like, my second efforts were through the roof, and like I was just, you know, running like off the halfback all the time. Yeah.
Mm. Is there a particular game where you have your most memorable football moment in a game?
Yeah, there was a game that I played for school earlier this year when I was sort of balancing my Sturt games with my school games. I
Yeah.
nearly took a hanger on someone's head.
Hmm.
And that was sort of something pretty cool for me because I've never really had the opportunity to do that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. What nicknames do you get at the club that you like or dislike?
Usually I get Soph, which is pretty common, or I get
Yeah.
Threads or Threaders from my last
Oh,
name.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Sometimes nice and basic is the best way to go about it, I say. Nothing too complicated.
Yeah.
What outside of footy interests do you have?
I really enjoy going for walks, sort of listening to music, and also I get up to a bit of creative things like baking and also like
No.
drawing sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Any particular drawings or food that you make?
Yeah, usually I just bake like sort of basic things like cookies and cakes and stuff.
Oh, nice. Is there a particular dish? And so obviously your teammates and co would know this. Is there a particular cookie or whatever that someone says, all right, can you do this for me or for us?
Um, Yeah, there was this one batch of cookies that I made. I think they might have had Biscoff in them that I
Mhm.
shared with the team once, and I think everyone just wanted me to non-stop making them. They were delicious.
Fair enough. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing because that means it's not bad.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the positive you take of it. The downside is they keep annoying you to bring them and make them, but then that
Mm,
means they must be good. Now, what are
yeah.
some fun facts about you, Soph, that people may not know about you?
Some fun facts about me. I actually have a fake tooth.
Do you?
Yeah. People usually don't know that about me, but yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Didn't happen at footy, did it?
No, it didn't happen when I was a kid.
Oh, okay. So a fair while ago then. All right. Now, if you could have any superpower, what superpower would it be?
I think I would probably be invisible. I think I'd like in most situations, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in some particular conversations. So I think
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
know.
really good to have.
That's right. There's the two answers that I hear most common, and it's that answer being invisible. I mean, for the exact reasons that you mentioned, and flying would be another one. Then you never have to pay for a damn thing, and you don't need to buy anything to be able to fly. You don't need a train ticket. You don't need a Mikey card or anything like that. You don't need a car. Nothing. They're the two answers that you always hear, and they're good
Yeah.
ones, and they make the most logical sense. All right. Hidden talents. Do you have any hidden talents that people don't know about, or that they do?
Um, hidden talents. I can nearly juggle. That's the only one that really comes to mind.
No, that's something. Um, Now, if there's one thing you've never told anyone, what would that thing be? So the reason I ask that is because sometimes I see these type of questions and people go, "There's like a secret people have never told people." Is there anything that would come to mind, or anything you would share?
Well, it wouldn't be a secret if I told it.
No, no. What has been a secret?
Uh, I don't know.
Fair enough. Keep it safe. All right. Okay. So, favorite TV shows or movies? Do you have any particular shows that you like watching?
I can never really commit to the shows. Sort of tend to lean towards the movies, but I reckon
Oh
the
yeah.
Hunger Games or the Maze Runner series are probably my favorite movies.
Very nice. Now, when you have these shows, obviously people, they love watching it. They don't like spoilers. They don't want, if they don't see it live or whatever, and they don't want to find it online or some friend to ruin it for them. Have you ever got into a point where you're that into a show and you can't see it in that moment, and you're like, you don't want someone to ruin it for you? And is there someone that does try and be that party pooper and ruin it for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I did actually watch Love Island earlier this year, and I
Oh yeah.
was, I think, 10 episodes behind the
Oh yeah.
real time. Like they were coming out every day, and every
Hmm.
day when I went to school, all my friends would be talking about like what happened that night in the episode. I was like, guys, shush. And then it got to the finale, and I didn't want to know who won, and
Yeah.
I never actually made it to the end of the series, so I just ended up asking them. I was like, oh, who won?
No.
And it was like 2 months after the finale.
Uh, yeah, I know there's nothing worse. And that's why sometimes I don't like telling people that I like a certain TV show or something like that, because then it invites someone to do that. And I've had that happen in the past, hence why I never like sharing it now. This was a long time ago. There'd be like a certain show that goes for 8 seasons and it has like for that whole 8 seasons, there's like a certain scene that builds up the whole way through the whole 8 seasons, and it got to like a process where it was like trying to find out who is this certain person, and they got to elimination of 4 names. So I got through 7 seasons and like half a season, 7.5 seasons, and it got to that one point where that person knew I was watching it, and they googled who was so and so, and they ruined it for me like 3 episodes before the reveal. I was like, you are got to be freaking kidding me. And what was funny in the show though, they announced who they thought was this person. It ended up being I don't know what the word is, but it wasn't that person anyway. So it's like a play it up. So I didn't know that in the moment. I was annoyed because I thought they revealed it for me. But when I watched the show, yes, it was revealed as that person, but it wasn't actually that person a couple episodes later. So jokes on them. They found the fake person who was claimed to be that person. So I kind of didn't get it spoiled, but I did in a way.
Yeah, what show was that?
That was The Mentalist. It was a long time. It was like a drama, not a cop type show, but like like they always go to those scenes, murder scenes and stuff. I suppose it is a cop show, but yeah, The Mentalist it was called. It was it was a certain thing that would happen throughout the whole 8 seasons or so. And I wasn't pleased, but then I was pleased because it wasn't who they said it was.
That's good.
Yeah, so I got it through. All right. Now, what is your favorite app on your phone? What is your go-to app?
I'd probably have to say Snapchat because that's just how I communicate with most of my friends these days.
Yeah, that seems to be, a very popular one for all the right and wrong reasons. And I mean, it's the big three, I feel like, and it's probably always going to be the big three. Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. They seem to be all the answers that always get mentioned. That is what it is. Now, if you're in charge of the Sample W competition, Soph, you're the CEO for a day. What rules would you add and/or remove? You're in charge. They can be as unrealistic as you like. What rules are you adding or removing?
I'm definitely removing the anti-density rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think not many people are very fond of them. I think I would also add 2 players to the field to make it the full 18. And I think a rule that I would remove would I don't know. I don't know if I'd add any actually.
Well, yeah, having 18 players is a smart one. So I can't believe I've asked people this when they haven't mentioned that. I would throw that back to them. I go, would you like more players on the field like how the men's have it in the AFL? And some are content with what it's like. I'm like, don't you want extra players on? So that means there's more players selected, especially for players that are on the cusp of being on the fringe of being picked.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right. And then the density one that you mentioned, I mean, being at some of the state championship games in Melbourne and then, seeing just as watching them online, and speaking to players, it's something that they really, really don't like. And everyone that I've had on pretty much mentions that every time. I think it's time they get rid of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's strange, but whatever. Here we are. Okay. What do you see yourself accomplishing within the next 5 years in an ideal world?
In an ideal world, probably obviously graduating school and getting a uni degree, but hopefully getting drafted, I think is something that I definitely look towards. Obviously next year being my draft year.
That's right. Yeah, now obviously this is obviously a hypothetical, but in terms of next year, obviously it's now moved to a national draft, obviously in the AFLW now moving away from the state base and everything like that. If that opportunity was to rise, Soph, to go to another state and another AFLW club, would that be something you'd be open to doing?
Yeah, definitely. I think if a club's willing to pick me up in another state, I wouldn't want to turn that opportunity down. Obviously, it'd be difficult moving to another state because I'd probably preferably stay in SA. But
yeah, that's fair enough. And I mean, in a way, then, so if the state championships is a good practice, I suppose, if that opportunity was there, if you obviously had that game in the second game in Melbourne, so it kind of gives you a little taste, I suppose, of what it would be like. Yes, that was only a couple of days, but it gives you a little taste of that flying component, adding all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I love asking these food questions, Soph, and now you'd be the first one to ever answer this first question wrong, because there's only one answer, from outside of Victoria. So how this works, I'll ask you 6 food questions. The 15 people out of over 150 have only got all questions correct to how I would answer them. Only 9 people have said the illogical wrong answer. This first one, all Victorian people, of course. And the lowest score anyone's ever gotten is 3 out of 6. How are you with food, and how do you reckon you'll go?
Oh, I don't know. The pressure's on now. Hopefully, I get above a 3.
Yeah, that's the aim. And there's no one on this fake honours board yet for getting under 3, so you wouldn't want to be the first. Right, no. The first one and the most important one, chicken palmy. Is it a palmy or is it something else?
Oh, definitely a palmy.
Good answer, so I mean, I cannot fathom anyone that says anything different. And there's 2 rebuttals to the people that say anything different. I say spell it out. It's an I, right? And then pronounce it's Parmigiana. So no E, no A, no O, no EY, nothing like that. That's right. Good answer. Good. 1 for 1. See, it's not hard. All right. Pineapple on a pizza. Yes or no?
I'd have to say yes. I do actually enjoy it myself.
Damn it. Okay, that's all right. 1 for 2. That's okay. Right. Tomato sauce, cupboard or fridge?
Have to go in the fridge.
I don't mind either answer, so everyone always gets a point. So that's probably why no one's got under 3. 2 out of 3. Nice start. Favorite food?
My favorite food can't go past a nice spaghetti bolognese.
Very, very good answer. I like that answer. 3 for 4. Food you don't like?
Food I don't like. I don't like tomatoes or pickles.
Good answer. 4 out of 5. Now, just out of curiosity, because what I'm about to say is what I am with tomatoes. I'll have tomato sauce, but I'm not a big fan of tomatoes. Are you like that too, or you just flat out don't like tomato sauce even either?
I'm not a fan of tomato sauce either.
Okay, so technically you might have it in the fridge, but you're not going to have it.
Yeah.
And obviously that could relate to every other sauce. Now, see, 4 out of 5. So you flying through. The last food one. Favorite takeaway place or restaurant?
In Adelaide, we have this place called Hissin, and I really like the takeaway from there.
Nice. What do you get from there? What's your go-to order?
They have this Mongolian beef, or usually we get lemon chicken, which is really good as well.
That seems to be a popular type of go-to order for restaurants and takeaway places like that. So 5 out of 6. See, there was nothing to worry about. You went through flying colours. Now, all right. So I got a few more for you. So I do really appreciate you coming on, Soph. All right. All right. If you could map out an ideal dream scenario for yourself, Soph, for your footy journey, how would you love it ideally to pan out for you this year?
Probably get drafted to an SA based team, so hopefully the Crows. But look, I'm willing to switch sides and go over to Port if they're willing to have me, and then just to play. I think probably play right through up until the end of the career. Honestly, would be great. And then obviously next year, I think would, like, in an ideal world, be part of the leadership group and sort of play hopefully in the back lines, but could be. Would hopefully be someone in the midfield, definitely. Would be something I was looking to do, but yeah.
That's good. And it's like you knew what my last question was going to be. It was going to be about leadership, Sophie. And by the way, mentioning pushing through the midfield, then that means you're closer and closer to kicking that goal. Maybe a celebration will start to be a regular thing.
Yeah, I might have to start practicing in the mirror.
Maybe. If you had to pick one, is there any that come to mind that you see other people do that you feel like you would say, oh yeah, I don't mind. That'd be something I'd consider doing, or I just flat out would.
Yeah, obviously you see like the Josh Rochelle and the Jack Ginnivan sort of celebrations, but I feel like I would just go with something more classic, like, the double fist or the one, something like that.
When I do my goal king challenges with players, so that's something that, is some of the basic ones you pull out. But there's one, I want to know your thoughts on this one. Someone once pulled out an aeroplane. So basically they ran around in a circle like 3 or 4 times with their arms wide out. What is your thoughts on that celebration? Because in that moment, I was speechless. I didn't know that was coming. And to be fair, it looked good though. But would that be something ever you'd be looking at doing? Because I thought it was interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Look, I think seeing it would be a little bit interesting after kicking a goal, but I think that's definitely something that I would do. So I'm not sure if I would actually do it, but I'd definitely think about it.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny to make it sound more interesting was the goal where that happened was on the right flank for a right footer about 20 out on the flank. Wow. So it wasn't the boundary, but hey, it was good for the video, I'll tell you that right now. Now, the last one, I do appreciate you going on, so is about leadership. Is that something that you've ever been a part of a leadership group before at any level? So at any level, whether it's not even state, it could be like school one, it could be juniors when you were playing juniors. And is it something, if so, that you want to be in the future, obviously, as well as you mentioned?
Yeah, in my local club, I got the opportunity to be captain for a year for my team, which was a good experience. But I think definitely if I was to be a part of the leadership group next year. I think it'd be a really good opportunity for me, obviously, like being able to lead a team and grow my sort of like skills in that area. Definitely think it's good for like other areas of life as well.
That's right, exactly. I mean, leadership can be in its always. You don't, and I always say you don't need the title to be a leader. You can be a leader just as much as a person with that title outside of that leadership group. So it's been a pleasure having you on. All the best for the next season and whatever else you got coming up. And I really do appreciate you coming on. And again, congratulations on your state championships and all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.